Hey folks, Blue Collar Guy here. So, as some of you know, I do a lot of videos on maintenance and how to fix your razor, your UTV, to how to deep fry turkey, and I really enjoy doing those videos. But I also do them in an effort to try and promote a story that I've written, and it's about my life growing up in one of the toughest neighborhoods in New York City in my transition to Oregon. Now, I won't take long on this, but if you could just bear with me for a few seconds, I would love to share that part of the story before we get into this, to the real reason why you clicked on this video. So the name of the book that I'm trying to promote is called Wallace Park, a memoir, and it's by Eddie Gregory, and you can get it on off of Amazon.com. And basically, it's about my life growing up in a really tough neighborhood, and my mother's dream for me to have a better life. That life came when we moved to Oregon, and yes, we faced a whole different kind of struggle, but at the same time, it was the beginning to an end. And I have I'm almost 50 years old now, and I've done a lot of writing in my past, and this story has a lot to do with people like yourself and me, and there's no question in my mind that you'll definitely relate to it, because I mean, if you know what it's like to be bullied, if you know what it's like to have a shitty job and wish you had a better life, or made more money, or if you know what it's like to fall in love or go to school and not learn anything and then finally come out and learn something. And I mean, these are all things that this book deals with. It deals with trials and tribulations that people go through every day. It talks about my best friend who I met when I first came to Oregon, and he was the only friend I met, and we grew up eating free lunches in the park, and how that was, and how later, he joined the military and later lost his life. And it's just, it deals a lot with the realities that people go through every day, but it's people like me that don't get the opportunity to get it on the shelves of Costco or bookstores, because I'm the small guy, I'm the little guy, and nobody wants to give the little guy a break, right? Nobody wants to give indie authors an opportunity to spread that word. So I'm appealing to you, the viewers who watch my videos, okay, and like what they see, and say, hey, look, this guy Eddie has got this book out, who does these videos on maintenance or whatever, and I want to help him promote it. You go check it out on Amazon.com, and that's it. I made it many years ago, before when my mom passed away. I made a promise to her. I promised her that I would do something with myself, that I would follow the straight and narrow path of goodness, and try and pay it forward whenever and however I could. And until this day, I do that religiously. And I also promised her that I would make something of myself. And part of that was writing this story and being able to share it with people like you. So with no further ado, I just wanted to say that, the name of the book is Wallace Park, a memoir by Eddie Gregory. And all I ask is, that you share it, you tell people about it, and comment. Okay, here we go with the review, and thank you for watching. Hey folks, Blue Collar Guy here at you. So today I'm going to do a review on a product called Fast Etch by Eastwood, and it's apparently good for ideal for prep for painting and powder coating. It's non-flammable, non-corrosive, non-toxic, but I don't know, when I even though it says it's non-toxic and all, it certainly smells and feels like it might be. So if I were you, I would still wear gloves. Don't get it to your skin, because I've had that, and it's very, it bothers my skin. So I'm going to assume if you touch it's going to bother yours. Wear goggles if you have some. Remember, this stuff is like an acidic type chemical. So, you know, you want to keep it out of the reach of children, and it's certainly going to be harmful if you swallow it. But anyway, so the other day I used some on some rusted bolts that I had, and I left them in there. Now, you don't need to leave them in there that long. I left them in for about, I don't know, an hour, and I came back and they turned out pretty well. I think all you really need to do is leave them there for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then you'll be good to go. Now, there are instructions on how to use this thing, but you know, I've used it many times before, and I'm just really impressed with how well it works. Now, it doesn't normally come out green like that, so I think that happened because I left this thing in it overnight, and so it ended up etching that pretty hard. But basically, what I want to do is I want to take these bolts that I took off of my UTV. If you don't know what a UTV is, it's like a 4-wheel drive off-road system that I like to play in. And they were bolted under my frame. They actually kept a skid plate in place. And I've got a bunch of these under there. So once a year, what I like to do is go in, pull these off, and take off that rust. There we go. See how bad that is? So what I want to do is I'm going to put this in. I'm going to put 4 of these bolts in here. And I don't know, maybe wait about 20 minutes or so. Let's see if you see these. About 20 minutes. I put this one in earlier. And let me see which one was that. This one. And it cleaned it pretty good. So we won't count that right now. I want to put it back in. But basically, you know, you could see how these are pretty bad. So if you take your bolts and your nuts and anything metal that you might have that has rust on it or whatever, you can certainly put it in this stuff here, and it'll do a really good job for you. In fact, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff by Eastwood that I really like. I can't afford all of it, but I really like some of their products. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here and just drop them in. Make sure you're wearing your gloves, okay? Because if you get some on your skin, it will irritate you. And we're going to wait about, I don't know, 20 minutes or half an hour. Or you don't even need to wait that long. I'm going to show you how well this thing works. Watch. Okay, there's a bolt. You see that smoky thing? That's it doing its job. Look at that. It's actually cleaning off that bolt. Let me see if I can turn that bolt around a little bit. There we go. Okay. Look at that. It's actually eating away that rust. That's what it's doing. It's cleaning that bolt like there's no tomorrow. Wow. Amazing. You know what? Just for kicks, I'm going to go ahead and throw this really rusted one in there. Look at this puppy. Let's throw that one in there. And bring it up toward the front. Give it a moment to sort of settle. There we go. See that? It's bubbling. It's bubbling because it's actually penetrating those threads, that rust in those threads. That's why it's bubbling. Okay, I'll come back in about 20 or so minutes and we'll see where we're at. Okay guys, so well, as you can see, I took the bolts out of the fast etch solution, rust remover, and this is the end result. Now the reason why they look a little shiny is because once I took them out, I ended up spraying a little PB blaster on it for lubrication, but I mean, as you can see, there isn't any rust on this. It almost looks as it did when I first bought it. These screws. And here's another example. Remember those bigger screws? Let's make it a little closer here. There we go. Remember the rust that was on that screw? All gone. And then I applied some of this stuff on it, this PB Blaster lubricant, just so that, you know, it's easier to go back into the hole, and it just keeps it nice and lubricated. And it also has a, I think this lubricant has an inhibitor in it. Either this has some sort of a rust inhibitor in it, or the Fast Etch does. I think the Fast Etch does, but also this one too, this lubricant spray. And then remember that bigger bolt that we had? Well, I had to leave it in there longer, okay, but it's doing its job very slowly on this one. Let's get it. There we go. Oh my God, the focus on this thing just isn't working today. Let's see if we can better view this way. So you can still see the rust on there. It's not as bad as it was, but this bolt was particularly worse than the others because it had been rusted this way for a long time. And the rust was actually a little deeper on this bolt than the other ones. So sometimes you just have to leave it in there longer than 20 minutes for it to do its job. I've had, I think, bolts in this stuff for as long as, I don't know, an hour maybe. But once you take them out, all of your bolts, once you take them out, you want to clean them with some acetone, which I have in that little cup over there. You can drop them in the cup, or you know, wipe them with a rag, however you want to do it, as long as you clean it. And then once you clean it with acetone, you want to come back and lubricate your bolts. If you do this annually for your bolts and nuts, they'll last a long time. You won't have to go to the hardware store and buy new bolts all the time. And I still buy new bolts as backups, but you know, sometimes these bolts can be expensive. I mean, I just went out and bought, I believe these are 6 millimeter. Let's see, is it this one? No, actually, these are 1/4 20 bolts, I think. And at the store, at the hardware store, if you're lucky to find them, they're about, you know, 80-something cents a piece. So it's just another way of just maintaining your UTV razor, if you have one. They'll be going on, basically, the bolts will be bolting underneath the frame there, because I got a skid plate that flushes up against the tubing, and then those bolts and I have flanges and bolts that actually screw right in. So anyway, I just thought I would share that with you. If you have any comments, feel free to make them. Subscribe if you'd like, and we'll see you later. Oh, I guess before we see you later, let me just make sure you see that product again. Okay, so just remember the name of the product is called Eastwood Fast Etch. They even have a picture on it with a brake disc rotor showing how one side is really rusted and the other side is clean because of that one side being dipped into the Fast Etch. Okay, read the instructions on it. It does need to be shaken when you get it, and when you use it, wear gloves and be safe. Take care. Bye.